the son-in-law does not necessarily get along with the father-in-law. Sometimes it's vice versa. But I'm glad to tell you that in the case of Moses, Yitro thought a great deal of him. And he, I guess, used to study Moses. I'm proud to say that I have an exceptional relationship with my father-in-law. It's really meaningful when your father is deceased and your father-in-law is still around. You have someone that can come in and give that advice, and this is what Yitro does. He is not a member of the house of Israel, but that does not mean that he is not an intelligent individual. Because we notice here in the 18th chapter of Exodus, after Moses greets his father-in-law, then he invites all of the elders and Aaron, the high priest, the one that we designated as the high priest, to break bread with Jethro, with his father-in-law. And they do break bread together. And the next day, Jethro gets up, and what does he see? He sees Moses sitting down, giving judgment to the people. The first question you should ask is, how could Moses be giving judgment for the people before God has given the 10 Commandments? Because the 10 Commandments have not been given. They're not given until the 20th chapter. You ought to know that Israel had law with them before the commandments. They had a structure, even in their captivity in Egypt. That's why Moses was told to go and show yourself to the elders, to the representatives of the people. You just can't lead people without people agreeing to be led. But you can't go to my grandchildren and say, can I be your leader? You have to go to the people in the community that will then question you about why you want to be the leader. So Jethro sees Moses there sitting from sun up to sundown, giving judgment. What was he giving judgment to? Well, you know, somebody goat bit somebody little boy, and they wanted to get some type of, something, because your goat bit my son. It didn't matter. However small or however large the situation was, they brought everything to Moses. Some of us are like that in our lives. We want to handle it all. We want to do it all for ourselves. We don't want to spread anything around. Only we can do it the right way. If we don't do it, it's not done correctly. Only we can see God's plan. No one else can see the plan. Well, here's Yitro, Moses' Khaton, his father-in-law. When he sees this, he asks, what are you doing? You're going to not only kill yourself, but you are going to kill this people. I have a suggestion for you. Wait a minute. Aren't you Moses? Aren't you the one that God speaks with mouth to mouth? Aren't you the one that was chosen and called? You mean God didn't tell you everything? You don't know it all? Well, in this case, evidently he didn't. And what is he told? He says, inquire of God and see if this is a good idea. You should get Anshe Chayil, the name of the brotherhood, men of valor. Anshe Emet, men of truth. And getting these men, then set them over the community, over the thousands and over the hundreds and over the 50s and over the tens. This makes a lot of sense. And you take great matters before God, but small matters, let them take to the local judges that can give judgment to the people. Why does Moses' father-in-law have to introduce his wife and his sons to him again? In rabbinic literature it says, when a man is going to war, he is obligated to give his wife a bill of divorce. Because if he does not come back, then she is a captive woman. She can't get a divorce because he's missing in action. And so therefore, she's stuck. She is not free to marry again. But if she has that get and he don't come back, then that get can be enforced. So Moses has to essentially be reintroduced and remarry Zipporah again. And these are your children, your two sons. And this is the last time that you're going to hear them mentioned in the Torah. You're not going to hear the sons of Moses mentioned again. They get no role. They're not mentioned when the Levites are given their particular task. The sons of Moses are not mentioned. And there are many hypotheses as to why that is. There are many thoughts as to why that might be. And I only want to share one of them with you. And that is because as Moses was born in Egypt, but you weren't raised with us. You were raised in another house. So that always made the people a little suspicious of Moses. What does the Egyptian tell him when he sees Moses the next day after he has killed the Egyptian? And then he stops the fight between two Hebrews. What does he say? Oh, now you're a prince over us. Oh, now you're going to kill me like you killed the Egyptian? So he's in a precarious role. And his children are even in a more precarious role. They're in a more precarious role because they're not born in the community. They're born outside of the community. There's a rabbinic legend that says that his sons went off and became apostate because there was no place for them. And many times in life, people are like that. They take their ball. I didn't get chosen. Let me see what y'all gonna play basketball with now. Because I'm taking my ball. And I'm going home. So this idea of the man that God is closest to, yet having the capacity in his humility to listen to his father-in-law, who is a priest of Midian. We don't know what that means. You cannot turn down intelligence. You cannot, or you should not turn down wisdom. Well, I don't want that wisdom because that wisdom didn't come from where I thought, anything I thought was smarter than me. If you only think that that which is smarter than you can help you with something, then you aren't wise at all. And you're gravely, gravely lacking. So Moses sets up the judgeship that his father-in-law suggests. How many were proposed to? How many did the proposal? Oh, okay. I thought you was proposed. I'm just watching the way it's like this. Now, marriage is an interesting thing. How many of y'all had counseling before you actually get married? Somebody actually sat down with you and talked to you and, went through the situation. The 19th chapter of the book of Exodus is the proposal. Now, in our culture, we don't mind getting our our feelings hurt. We don't ask anybody. I guess we used to. But, you know, we would send a brother out to ask that girl to, you know, tell them that we like them. And then the girl said this. Then he goes, you know, I forgot you sent me. But I really like them. So guys stopped sending those emissaries and said, no, I better go and do this for myself. I better go and make this proposal for myself. But in antiquity, you didn't do that. You sent a representative for you to go and to make that proposal. God, the creator of the universe, can't take you, can't make you. You have the right always to choose. God can't make any of us do anything. So don't tell that lie on the devil. If God can't do it. What we do, we choose to do, based upon the Yitro hara, the evil inclination, or the Yitro hara, the good inclination that dwells within the nature of human beings. God couldn't take Israel. He had to propose to Israel. And the 19th chapter is the proposal. And look at the eternal one, the all-seeing God, the omnipresent God. When Moses goes down to take the message to the people, the Eternal closes his ears. Because he can't hear that. He has to wait for Moses to bring that message back to him, that answer to that proposal. And when Moses does, then the Eternal says, now this then is what they have to do. They have to wash their clothes. Therefore, they have to wash their bodies as well. Because you're not supposed to put clean clothes on top of a dirty body. Now, some folks will do that, but you're not supposed to do that. Before you put on clean clothes, you should wash. And then what happens? The third day, I want you to bring them out. So Moses is leading the people. And in Moses leading the people, Moses is escorting. He is almost like the father of the people, escorting them to the canopy. And what is the canopy? Mount Sinai. Because the people are standing under the mountain. And then they get these 10 words. Why 10 words? Well, there's a tradition that says that the Eternal only spoke 2 because the word Torah, Tav, Vav, Rosh, He, is 611. And that after God, you know, when you read the Talmud and Godic literature, you know, you can read some studies. Oh, come on, man, that's not right. But so that can't be right. But it says that the Eternal only spoke 2 words, and when the people heard the second word, they all died from hearing the very voice of God. But what else is it about people that is interesting that Israel made them a little bit differently? Actually, before they got it, says, we will hear, we will do, and we will hear. Shouldn't have done like we will hear and then do. We will do and hear. We're ready to go. We're moving towards you right now. So the ketubah, the marriage contract between God and the house of Israel, is the 20th chapter. When is it given? It says in the 3rd month when they had come out. In that 3rd month, we have the Feast of Shavuot. Yes, it's a harvest festival, but it was also the time of the giving of the Torah, of the marriage between Israel, and the Eternal One of Yisrael. Moses is the conduit. He brings the people. He leads the people to the mount for the Eternal. And then they get, I am the Lord your God. Now, there's been some argument about these commandments being posted in state houses all throughout this country, particularly in the South. So I want you to turn, if you would please, very quickly to page 294 with me. Verse 1. Lord, together, please. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God. Stop. Out of the land of Egypt. God does not say, I am the creator of the world. God does not say, I made Adam and Eve. God does not say, I saved Noah. God does not, because Israel doesn't know anything, that may be some hearsay, but you need to know this direct relationship. I am the one. Don't worry about what came before you. Worry about what I did for you. You don't declare, well, I saved Noah in the ark. That's not what it is. How do we know him? He spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So don't you get that confused. I didn't have any company. Moses was nothing but a representative. I didn't send my son. I didn't send my daughter. I didn't send my nephew. I didn't send Buddha. I came and did this myself. That's a commandment. That is a commandment that you must always remember how you got to be. The other stuff is secondary. And then thou shalt have what? Is that what your book says? Then I don't know what to say. So I don't understand how in Alabama and Mississippi and South Carolina they have the 10 Commandments written, and yet I guess it's written to the understanding of how they perceive it and understand it. Verse 4. Thou shalt what? Did you get that? Did you get it? Thou shalt not make unto thee a graven image of anything. To try to make a representation of that entity, that deity, that ever-presence that we call Yud Hey Vav. It seems simple enough. 5. Thou shalt what? Now, listen carefully to me. Sometimes when people go places and they visit other people, they go in there and they start doing whatever other people are doing. What am I saying to you? So I've seen people that are supposed to be in this way of life go into a Catholic church, and when people do the thing Bob and get a little water, they think they're supposed to do that too. You a visitor. You ain't Catholic for a day. You a visitor. If you got to do that, don't go in. I'll wait for you outside. Where the party at? Or you go to a church, because a lot of us still have relatives in the church. So you go there and they do communion. You're not supposed to do that. It's not okay for you to partake of the Eucharist. wafer. I know you like it. I saw you with 6 of them. That's not matzah. It's not. So we don't do that. Just sit there. Sometimes we go to funerals and people, we don't have open caskets. You don't have to go all up there. Oh, you can be respectful by sitting back here and letting those people do what they do. If you're going to be Israel. But sometimes we're good imitators, or we're Israel for a day. We turn to the east. If we're with our Muslim brothers, they turn in a little slightly different direction. We don't do all. They doing it that way. If you don't have a foundation upon which you are standing, when you're standing anywhere and the foundation shifts, whatever circumstance and situation you're in. Am I saying that we don't respect other people's faith? Absolutely not. I'm saying to you that that is not what we do. So if you're doing it, you're confused. That's what I'm offering to you. The point of your being very, very confused. And that's fine. You know? I don't have a ministry of condemnation. Condemning people for the mistakes that they made, because I couldn't be anywhere because I made a whole lot of them. So that we don't make graven images of anything. We do not bow down to images. When we make a bracha, the word baruch, we are not blessing God. It really means to be. It means to submit. Baruch atah Adonai. There's nothing you can bless God. I ain't got no money. Seriously. God said, if I was hungry, you wouldn't feed me. I wouldn't turn to you for a meal. For the cattle on 1,000 hills belong unto the eternal. All right, so let's finish with this very quick. Showing mercy to 1,000 that love him and keep his commandments. Thou shalt not take God's name, the name of the Lord thy God, in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless to take his name in vain. You cannot swear falsely by God's name. When you say that you're saying something and affirming something, or if you go to court and you are testifying and you give testimony, you are saying that you are affirming by that all that you believe in, that you will be telling the truth to the best of your ability. You can't put that there and then make up something that you did not see. That's why you can't take a bribe for testimony. No one can pay you to testify as to what you witnessed. You say, well, I'm a professional witness. They're paying me because I'm a professional. No. You cannot pay a witness. Because that is equated to one being paid a bribe and having accepted a bribe. Now, this is the one I remember. Is that what your book says? Yes. Remember the Shabbat day to keep it holy. That's the commandment. You can work in 6 days. There you can get the argument about what is work. The 39 division of work talked about in the Talmud. That's why in some communities, in conservative communities that are a little bit to the right, in modern Orthodox and Orthodox communities, they don't even write on the Shabbat. Have you heard the word Eruv before? What is an Eruv? It's an area of a circumference that is bounded, could be natural, or it could put up wires to mark the Eruv. And when you're inside the Eruv, it's like being inside your house. so to make this piece applicable, because you see pushing a stroller is work. But if you have the Eruv, then you can push the stroller from where you live to the synagogue. Because you're within the Eruv. And being within the Eruv puts one within the confines of what would be designated, being inside, almost like being inside of the home. They had to do that because if they didn't have the Eruv, now somebody find Eruv for me in the Torah. People that have read the Torah a couple of times over the years. Not there. You will not find the word Eruv in the Torah, particularly as a designation of a boundary. It is halakhic based upon rabbinic understanding. Okay? Just like driving on Shabbat. Why don't some Jews drive on Shabbat? They said they think that they're lighting a fire when they turn the ignition in their car. Okay? So understand that when you just look at the Ten Commandments, there's a deeper understanding that other communities have. And those understandings that they have are predicated. When we say Jewish law, when we say halakha, we're talking about laws that were understood by the rabbis being extrapolated from the Mishnah and from the Talmud. The Mishnah and the Gemara make the Talmud. The Mishnah, redacted, who's the redactor of the Mishnah? Judah HaNasi. Judah HaNasi, Judah the Prince, was the redactor of the Mishnah. He wrote down the 6 orders of living, of engaging, of relationship between husband and wife, of how you understand and how we keep Rosh Hashanah, why we keep Rosh Hashanah in the fall, as opposed to Rosh Hashanah being kept when the Torah says, this shall be to you what? The beginning of your months. Correct? But we don't send out Rosh Hashanah cards at the beginning of Aviv. Rosh Hashanah cards are sent out in September when Rosh Hashanah begins. Okay? That is predicated upon the rabbinic understanding of creation. And what did they understand? That creation was completed when God made man. So therefore, this time of year is the beginning of the year. So it is the new year of years since creation. And the first of Aviv is the new year of kings. And we are in a season now, to Bishpat, the new year of trees. And then there's a new year for cattle. There are 4 new years, according to rabbinic tradition and understanding. All right? Now, then it says something that is really, really interesting. It says that we are to, verse 12, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Those are the first 5 commandments. Kavod, to give honor, to give respect to your father and your mother. It is the only commandment with a promise attached to it. No other commandment has a promise attached. This commandment says, by honoring father and mother, why? That your days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. And later in Deuteronomy, the 10 commandments are given again, but the roles are switched. It says, honor thy mother and your father. Just so that you will all know that in the sight of God, your mother and your father are equal. And that we must give them honor. The first 5 commandments. Put up your right hand. Those are the first 5 commandments, and they have everything to do murder. What is the difference between murder and killing? You know it, correct? Murder is a premeditated act perpetrated on someone who has not done anything to you. You may be jealous of that person. Vis-a-vis, what's his name? Cain? What did he do to his brother? He murdered him. He murdered his brother. There's a difference between murder and killing. All killings aren't murder. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Not sometime. Not when you can't be with the one you love. Love the one you're with. Not when it's convenient for you. That won't get you. Thou shalt not steal. A lot of people say, man, we obey all the commandments. Thou shalt not, that's what, no, don't steal. Thou shalt not steal tithe. I'll never steal a tithe. Thou shalt not steal cars. I'll never steal a car. Thou shalt not steal chickens. But we're in the congregation of chicken people. So we'll go, I don't know about chicken. That's what we do. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. And to be very serious, too many times we say things that we don't know about. We're simply repeating what somebody else told us about somebody. That is bearing false witness. That is being a tale bearer. This commandment is one that really weighs quite heavily on a lot of people because they feel that they got to tell something. Please, let your words be few and your actions many. Let your actions be greater than your words. Because you can make out a whole lot of great words, but then if you don't ever follow through with action, what substance does your words have? They lose their substance. And once your word loses its substance, who pays attention to you? You don't have to be envious of anyone. You don't have to worry about the Joneses. You don't have to worry about the Smiths. You don't have to worry about what they have. You don't have to worry about trying to get anything that they have. You don't need it. You do not have to covet. And to covet means to, whenever the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to get it. When the opportunity doesn't present itself, I can't do anything. And I'm acting like a good, righteous brother. But boy, as soon as you turn your back, I'm going to get all the chickens and the donuts. So the other 5 commandments are our relationship with humanity. That's why they say that there are 2 great commandments: loving God and loving humanity, represented in our 2 hands. Now, where is God then represented? God is represented in the essence of our being outwardly, because your head looks like a yod. Your arms look like a hay. Your torso looks like a vav. And your lower extremity looks like another hay. You look like the eternal. So, not that God looks like you in face, but in form. In form. Commandments. Positive. 248. Affirmative commandments. Corresponding with the 248 major bones in the body. Negative. 365. Correlating with the 365 days in a solar year. or the 365 sinew that draw the bones of the body together, equaling 613. Equaling 613. Some laws are not applicable anymore because there is no Knesset Hakadol. There is no sacrificial call. There is no cleansing with the red heifer. So all of Israel is in a state of impurity. But these basic 10 commandments then must be extrapolated upon to come up with the other laws of the Torah, giving us what we have as 613. Then it says, all the people perceived the thundering and the lightnings and the voice of the horn and the mountain smoking, and when the people saw it, they trembled and stood afar off, and they said unto Moses, speak thou with us, and we will hear, but let not God speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said unto the people, fear not, for God is come to prove you, and that his fear may be before you, that you sin not. And this fear of God being before you is not fear because I don't want to do wrong, I don't want to get a whooping. This fear means respect. To be in awe of God. I used to be afraid of my mother when I was this tall, and she was this tall. But when I got this tall, I wasn't afraid of my mother, but I respected my mother to the utmost and absolutely another point. So it didn't matter how big I became, I could never become bigger than my mother. You can't do it. I don't care how tall you get, how wide you get, you can never become smarter than your father. Well, I got 2 degrees. I'm undergraduate and graduate degree. Daddy only went to 6th grade. Mom only graduated. Sorry. Sorry. Don't ever think that you got so much that you are above your father and your mother. And fathers and mothers, let us always encourage our children and our grandchildren to be the very best that they can. Shabbat Shalom.